Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the SportsTech All Stars podcast. We're motoring along in our series focused on broadcast innovation. And this week, we've got the Chief Revenue Officer of Videocites. We've got Amos Varon on the show. Videocites is a company that started in anti piracy, helping sports rights holders detect piracy online, but has then since moved to a media tracker and various other solutions. Amos and I have a great conversation around how Videocites is able to really capture a problem that or address a problem that sports rights holders didn't know that they had, and now is converting not just missed revenue into revenue, but also creating bigger revenue opportunities in how they deliver their service. A fascinating conversation. I hope you enjoy it.
This is the SportsTech All-Stars podcast, showcasing outstanding startups and initiatives in the global sports tech ecosystem. From SportsTechX, the leading source for data and insights about sports tech, here is your host, Rohn Malhotra.
All right, Amos, I'm always curious to start at the beginning. I want to hear about your origin story. You have an interesting background. I know you've served a bit of time in professional sports at a couple of sports venues as well. So walk me through that and how you've ended up in your current role as Chief Revenue Officer for Videocites.
Yeah, happy to. Look, I've had almost 25 years in the sports and entertainment industry, beginning on the commercial side. I've worked for various entities, be them leagues like NASCAR, worked for major media agencies, as well as sports conglomerates like Madison Square Garden Company and BSC Global, which runs the Nets and Liberty. I spent my career beginning on the partnership sponsorship side of the business and evolved that to numerous verticals on media, merchandise, radio, television, as well into premium and ticketing. And so I've had a pretty broad experience on the right holder side, team and league, where I spent most of my career. So when I made this move and change to Videocites, it was quite a change in direction for me, one in which I was very excited after 20, 25 years of doing the things I did to really see and look at the future. Where are things going in technology, specifically for rights holders in the sports and entertainment? Where could I utilize my relationships? But as well, for me, it's about learning and growing on myself. You get in this business, you start to do the things you do, you gain experience. Sometimes you get to a point of plateauing out and having kind of doing the same old thing, and I'm always open to learning and taking on challenges. And so when this opportunity presented itself, I saw it as a big one and was very excited to come over. I joined Videocites about a year ago as Chief Revenue Officer, now Global Chief Revenue Officer for the company. And so really excited about the future of what we're doing and where things are heading in this industry.
Yeah, it's an interesting time, especially around broadcasting. And we talk about that a lot in our content, but there's so much innovation, especially because there are so many different players acting in the market, whether it's big tech companies like Apple and Amazon, who were not buying live sports rights even 3 or 5 years ago, certainly not, or whether it's the various leagues and federations trying to go direct to consumer, and they're figuring out their proposition. And of course, all the incumbents themselves, the ESPN, NBC, Universal, Skies of the world are not disappearing, not going anywhere anytime soon. So they all have their own way to, or have to find their own way of dealing with the innovation in the market. But one area that they all have concerns around is piracy. And I think that's where Videocites plays a key role. But you can tell me more. So what exactly is the problem that Videocites is solving, and how do you solve it?
Yeah, let me take a brief step back. So, Videocites' technology is a video frame by frame search AI technology that we have created. And it has created numerous products which we have gone to market with. But the first product that we had been involved with was our anti-piracy content protection, in which you're alluding to. And that was really a game changer for the company. Videocites' expertise is in the social media space. So our technology gave us the ability to identify any illegal stream of any live or VOD event that was going on across social media platforms. So you can just imagine when you think about big rights holders, whether it's European football or NBA basketball or a boxing or UFC match, the ability for us to identify the second an illegal stream of that event is happening and that rights holder is potentially losing revenue, for us to identify that, bring it back to the social media platforms to have it taken down. And so when we first entered the marketplace years ago, that became kind of our calling card, that what we can do that was so different from everybody else. And it really came back to our video frame by frame technology and what we were doing in the social media ecosystem. So as you just alluded to, where things are going, the constant growth in social media, distribution of content through social media, legal, and then, of course, in these instances, illegal. It is a huge miss of revenue and an opportunity for these rights holders to protect their content in a way that maybe before wasn't as seen as a big loss. But now, when we show the potential of what is happening in this ecosystem, all the rights holders become very attuned to saying, we have to be aware of this. We need protection against this. And teach us more about how we can do this better. And I think that becomes a really big product for us.
I was in Madrid a couple of weeks ago, and Javier Tebas, the president of La Liga, was on stage addressing piracy as the biggest problem that La Liga faces, amongst others. But you can understand why it the broadcast fees that they receive is their biggest chunk of revenue, right? So if their broadcast is complaining to them that they're losing revenue, then they're not going to be paying La Liga as much. And further down the line, we've seen this conversation with Bain Sports in the French league a few years ago, and it's a conversation that just doesn't seem to go away. But before I come to the technical parts, and I want to understand this a bit better because I think it's so interesting how you deliver the solution. You said piracy is where you started. What else do you do? Like, what are the other specific products that you're pushed that Videocites provides now?
Yeah. So as I mentioned at the beginning of that, I joined the company about a year ago. And when I first saw the technology, anti-piracy was brought to me, but we have a product called MediaTrack. And that was the product that I had first seen. And MediaTrack initially was seen as a sponsorship measurement tool. So in essence, just to give the overview again for Videocites, our ability is to track all video and imagery content across the social media ecosystem beyond a rights holder's owned and operated channels. So what's happening now is everybody is monetizing and valuing all of the engagement they get only on their owned and operated channels. We like to call that the iceberg effect. That is probably 10 to 20% of the true engagement. What's below sea level and what's not seen is this 80% of engagement between affiliate websites, influencers, and the biggest growth, user-generated content, which we call UGC. So the MediaTrack product, which has about a half a dozen uses, is something we bring to rights holders, be it a league, be it a team, even be it a brand, on how they can be utilizing this product to help grow their revenues, get a true sense of what is happening with their content and their engagement globally or locally, depending upon the rights holder. And it becomes a really valuable tool for them to start digging in. And this is a product that just didn't exist before. We have a sponsorship measurement tool. There are a lot of people who do sponsorship measurement across social media. We obviously think our product is quote unquote better because of what we can do technology wise, but we don't want to just be in the data measurement space. We know we have a much larger holistic solution for a rights holder that can bring them all types of data and insights from their marketing team to their DNA and B&I teams to their sponsorship team that give them a lot of opportunity to grow as a brand that they didn't have before. So this MediaTrack product, which I'm happy to discuss further, really became of interest to me to understand, being on the other side for 20 years, running these businesses, of what was not seen and not known. We knew it existed, but there was never really a tool to understand what kind of true engagement our respective brands were having in the marketplace until this product came along.
And I want to come to that. I want to talk about your perspective, certainly coming from the industry, and now that you're on the other side, you're kind of a service provider, solutions provider to the industry. How has that affected your mindset? But before we get there, maybe we can talk about some of the success stories. Can you talk to me about some of the clients that Videocites is serving with the different pieces of technology that you have, from anti-piracy to the media tracker to other stuff? And yeah, just give me a couple of stories about what kind of projects you've been executing over the last few years.
Well, like I said, being here 1 year, it's been a real focus of mine um, to look at the major sports leagues and federations around the globe because the size and scope of those entities and whether they are looking to grow their fan base, right, in order to generate larger media rights deals, whether they're looking for content creators, whether they're looking for the true sponsorship measurement for their brand partners, all these things are at a much bigger scale. And so we've been really focused in on providing the media track product as a solution to these leagues, and excited that we are working with some of the biggest leagues in the world right now. Premier League, obviously over in Europe, the National Basketball Association, the National Football League, Major League Baseball, National Hockey League. These are some of the largest institutions of sport that are constantly looking at how they can grow and refine their business. And having relationships here for the 20 years that I've been on the commercial side to be able to walk into those entities and show them this product and all the different verticals that it can do to benefit the different divisions of those leagues gets them very excited, but also gets me very excited. As you mentioned, being from the commercial side of teams and leagues before, I just know what's kind of been missing and where this tool can fill in a gap here to really help what every league is forward thinking now, which is growth on a global scale across social media. How can they use social media better? How can they reach out and engage with content creators and super fans of their league that they don't know exist, that are engaging with their content all the time? And I think what we've been able to do is open the eyes to a lot of these social media and digital departments within the league to understand you're doing great work, you're putting out great work. But what you don't know in that iceberg effect under the ocean, under the sea level, is a massive amount of engagement that is flying blind. And if we can, open those doors for you, it's going to create numerous opportunities to grow the brand, increase revenue, and be more efficient in your marketing in the way that you grow your respective league.
So I'm going to walk you through a use case of my simple understanding of how this could work, and I want you to feel free to jump in and correct me wherever I'm going wrong. But essentially, it's so say I'm the social media manager of Manchester United. Yeah, that's my team, right? And I've posted. So this can also work in live and non-live environments, right? Perfect.
Correct.
So I've posted the highlights of yesterday's game. United won 3-0. Doesn't happen often, but let's just play in this hypothetical. The United won 3-0 last evening. And I put the highlights clip on my social channels, right? So I put it on Twitter, Instagram, whatever, right? Your algorithm, your solution will help me tell me that, hey, this is what you shared. But by the way, there were like 10,000 other people that downloaded the video locally or found other copies of that video and have been sharing that on their channels. So, these are the pages that are showing that content, number one. Number two, so now what do you want to do with it? Do you want to, A, take it down? That's an anti piracy thing. Or B, do you actually want to measure the reach of this video content? Did I get that right?
You're on the right track.
Okay. So
Here,
what did
I
I
will.
miss?
Yeah, well, so I'll simplify it, and it's different with each entity. Whether you're a European football club or a professional baseball team, it's going to be different. But top line, in that example, when Menu puts out those highlights across their social channels, they will measure their owned and operated value. So they will, let's just say they got 1 million views across all of their channels, and therefore that social media manager goes back to the VP of marketing and to the CMO, and they say, hey, we got 1 million views yesterday based upon that. That is the above the iceberg, the iceberg above the water. What we're able to highlight through our dashboard is when those videos or images are put up across of those highlights, we will now track every engagement, share, repost, or match of those highlights or images across the entire ecosystem. So instead of the 1 million views that you had from people going to your handles, we will show every affiliate media website who might have taken those highlights and showed it, every influencer who you maybe know of or don't know of, and then every fan who engaged with that. So, in a simple analysis, that 1 million views that you might have gotten will actually be 10 million views, 10x that you didn't know about. You missed 90% of it. And that's all aggregated on a dashboard where we can take every single video or image that's posted and reposted by any of those affiliates, influencers, and UGC. And you can now view that on your dashboard. So what's the first thing it does? Obviously, on the value, you're going to see how you missed 9x of what you really engage with. That's a simple low hanging fruit. But what becomes more valuable to the social media manager is you're going to then be able to see, how did I perform on my channels? If I put out most of my videos on, TikTok, but I saw that I had way better engagement on YouTube, but I put less on YouTube, you're going to start to see who engaged where and how many views that showed you. So this becomes a really massive tool to understand social media channel performance. Where should I be investing, putting out content? Because where are my fans engaging with it? So right off the bat, data that was never really seen before because it was just your owned and operated channel, this becomes very valuable. From there, you're now able to identify superfans, content creators, people you didn't know who might have large followings from 10,000 to 100,000 to a million subscribers of their own who are fans of Man U. Maybe there's a huge Man United fan in Japan who has 100,000 followers who took that content and shared it with their community. You're now going to be able to identify that superfan in Japan, the content he or she is engaging with, and how they are customizing, creating it, mashing it to their 100,000 followers. Where now you've identified a content creator. Maybe you want to work with that content creator, give them access to certain things, and work with them to grow. Or you want to market right to their 100,000 subscribers. There just becomes limitless use of data that before it was only looking at your own respective channels as Man U. Now you're able to get into that iceberg effect and really start to look at all these numerous verticals that can help drive your business.
And the reason I ask it in that way, and thanks for that explanation, is because I want to understand also who are the stakeholders that this is relevant to. So you're selling into the, let's say, the marketing manager of the rights holder primarily, right? But for them, it's also important to then either report internally, to report to their sponsors, to report to the league, perhaps if there is some other level of aggregation. Like, so where are all the touch points that you see that your solution has actually in the ecosystem?
Well, that's the great point about MediaTrack and the great value of our product is that almost every department within a commercial organization can benefit from the value of MediaTrack. So as you just highlighted, while I have my team focusing in through the marketing department, normally because marketing budgets are a lot bigger and their goals are overarching to grow the brand, for a lot of entities, sell tickets, and then grow your sponsorship, grow your merchandise, grow your fandom, right? But all these different verticals they can benefit from. So on the commercial side, yeah, you want to give a true media value for all your sponsors, media value that they got across social. It's low hanging fruit to be able to say, look at this. You were reporting 1x, it was really 10x on that side. But now I go back over to the marketing group, and there are 2 or 3 different divisions within marketing. The digital and content team, they're creating great content every day, if not every week. And now we can give them true sightlines into what their content is doing across the entire ecosystem. That is something they just never had before. So they become excited. Then, like you said, social media team, who's operating the handles, who's watching your channel performance, who's seeing the engagement that's happening there. So all of these verticals starts to become really, really valuable. And here in the United States, all of the teams, their number one goal is to sell tickets. That can be the difference between profitability and not profitable for an individual team. A little different maybe in European football and some other things. But overarching, every sport needs to sell tickets. So if this can then be utilized as a tool to engage with a community and a base in your market that you never engaged with before because they're not your hardcore fans, but through these content creators, you're able to reach out to them and their subscribers. It now becomes a really useful tool for the marketing departments to say, I know how to market to the people who buy my tickets normally. I need to find new fans. I need to go to those that haven't been engaged with our brand. And this is giving me a tool now to identify who those people are and now market to them specifically. So really, really valuable in a lot of different use cases.
So very much a commercial enablement tool, right? To meet whatever your commercial objectives are. As you said, if you're trying to maximize sponsorship, you're trying to sell tickets. I guess those are the two main primary things, and also the broadcasting fee. We touched upon that earlier with the privacy stuff. I mean, those are the three biggest commercial objectives of a sports entity, no?
I think, again, teams and leagues are different. So
Sure.
when you alluded to some of the stuff you said on the teams, on the league side, those are some of the biggest areas for us. We talked about anti-piracy briefly, MediaTrack holistically. We also have a product that allows us to monetize YouTube, and YouTube monetization is a big business for us with professional sports leagues, those that are putting out immense content and haven't been able to get it monetized correctly through YouTube, just because that is not their job. They will always use their product content ID to try identify content that belongs to the rights holder and be able to record some of that ad dollars to the league. Our product is focused purely on finding that content early, as soon as it goes up, put up by a third party, and being able to then claim it and monetize it. So we, again, is to your point earlier, the use cases just continue to grow for the technology. And I think that's what's truly exciting is we're seeing how leagues or teams or brands can utilize it now, but it keeps evolving as social media evolves. And we know we'll be at the forefront to help all of our clients and partners continue to monetize their business and grow their revenues, which is what we want to help them do.
I'm going to ask you to put your hat, let's say your industry hat back on and circle back to a year ago before you joined Videocites. And I guess I want to track the evolution of the thinking of like what you were seeing as the problem while you were in industry, and now that you're on the other side, because I can imagine video sites have been maybe found its own challenges of selling the solution into market. That's why they hire good talent and try to get people from the inside to talk to people, to go back to talk to people. How has that evolution of thinking been from your perspective? That how seriously was this problem being tracked internally, say a year, 2, 3 years ago, to now, where is it more top of mind? Are the solutions more obvious? Is it a quicker sell process for you, for example, or shorter sell process, I should say?
Yeah, it's an interesting question because you defined it as what's the problem that we're helping solve. I think for a lot of the rights holders, they didn't know they even had a problem. I think they knew that starting 8, 9, 10 years ago, as social media came on the scene, that this was going to be a valuable resource for all entities and able to connect directly with your fans, being able to engage in a way that before you weren't able to. And I think the focus was on what you knew more so than what you didn't. And I know I've harped on it a few times, but that's the iceberg of saying people I knew in the industry weren't thinking about we knew we were probably missing something, but we didn't know what we didn't know. So for us, it was focusing on, let's focus on what we do know. Here are our channels. Here's the content we're creating. Here's who's engaging with us. Here's our basic, simple numbers of that engagement. And that's no one's fault as much as it is until the technology comes around that can enlighten and open the door to the data and insights that you didn't know it exists. So to your second point of the question, whether it's easy, when I walk into fellow colleagues of mine, people I've worked with for 20 years that run teams or at the leagues, and all we have to do is show the dashboard. Once we show our dashboard, the light bulb goes on for everybody instantaneously. They click, they see how the videos are aggregated. They see these content creators they never knew. They're seeing numbers and metrics they never had before. It's all aligned there. So I think what becomes interesting is those that I talk to that might be more sophisticated than others are starting to ask questions about how they can segment the tool more, which is challenging our product and R&D team on how we can find and create products that fit the needs, right? So going back to what was a problem, now it's, I wasn't able to do X, Y, Z. Can you help me do it? And that gets our team very excited on, can we create that product for them? So again, we're working with leagues because at the scale that they've had. Now we started working with teams, and I'm helping teams across all the major sports leagues, whether they want a better analysis of their patch or helmet sponsorship, to whether or not they want to identify new content creators and superfans in their market, or they just want to know what social media handle should they be investing in and producing more content because more people are engaging there across affiliate and UGC. All these various questions become, how can Videocites help us? And that's what we've been really excited to do, to work with them.
Powerful stuff is, especially as you said, is if the use case keeps building, and especially if your client is telling you what the use case should be, then that's a great spot to be in. I want to take one, let's say maybe a bird's eye, call it a macro view, whatever. I started at our conversation right at the top with highlighting why we're so interested, why we as SportsTechX are so interested in broadcasting innovation, because this is a segment or a part of the sports industry that I still think this is early days in terms of flux, in terms of innovation, right? Because there is so much happening in so many different places, so many different players are experimenting in different ways. There is immersive content at home, in stadium, There's all sorts of innovation on broadcast feed. I don't know, have a betting specific broadcast or a kid specific broadcast where everything's animated, for example, right? And then there are the actual buyers and suppliers trying to find their water. What are some of, either with your Videocites hat or maybe I prefer without, what are some of the innovations that most excite you around the future of sports broadcasting?
Well, I think you're so it's interesting. Broadcasting to me, and I'm an old timer for 25 years in my experience in this industry. And now, as I've moved into social media, it is the convergence of distribution of content that when we say broadcasting, I'm now 51 years old. And so a 22-year-old isn't used to watching distribution of content through the traditional cable mechanisms. You need to now understand where they are and bring the content to them. And that's only going to escalate faster and faster. I think you're seeing that with the NBA right now with their current rights deals agreements,
Yeah.
where one of their big packages is going to be Amazon, right? So it's only going to go that route, whether it's La Liga or Premier League or Bundesliga, or it's the NBA or NHL or MLB. Globally, the distribution of content through the traditional means are existing, but now they have to pivot very fast to have a streaming component, and they need to be able to go to where the community is, especially the younger community, to engage that fan base. So we look at that at Videocites being in the technology we have within that space of social media, that this content is going to funnel right through the social media ecosystem, and where things evolve to that people watch games or real-time live clips or however it's going to be consumed, that we will be a solution as that grows and evolves to be able to have products to help our partners monetize it better, engage with it better, and grow it better. And I think that after these next, rights deals within the next 3, 4, 5 years, that is going to be the major focus. And it's going to be really important on how these leagues go to market with that to continue to grow at the levels they want to grow, and how we can be a solution to help them do it.
So it's not just that social media is a way for me to connect with my fans. Social media channels become a key part of my revenue mix, but like how I'm assessing my broadcast value, for example.
You're seeing that at the league level now, and in the US, you're seeing that at the team level, where a lot of the regional sports networks that have claimed bankruptcy, a lot of
Yeah.
teams are starting to build direct to consumer product. Well, if you have a direct to consumer product that is living across the social media ecosystem, that people are watching your games on that, you can only imagine of what kind of engagement on social they will be doing while they are watching a DTC product. And all that engagement, while that is happening from videos and imagery across affiliate and UGC, that is just a magnitude of content and engagement that hasn't happened before at the team level. And I think I'm very interested to see as that continues to grow, because in the past, the team would just get a rights fee from the local broadcast, and that's what they did. And now it's just a huge tool to not only try and increase viewership, but also they democratize the consumption of their content and now have numerous ways to engage with those consumers, whatever demographic they fit. Obviously, from 15 to 29, you're going to want to engage with that consumer way differently than if it's 55 and over, who
Yeah.
might just be used to the traditional broadcast. So segmenting that viewership and monetizing that viewership will be different. And again, a tool like Videocites and their Media Track product, allowing you for that, especially that more savvy social media engagement consumer, that's going to be really, really valuable.
Yeah, it's inevitable. We can all see that. All right, fantastic. Amos, thank you so much for all the context and explanation. Now, bring me home. What is Videosites excited about, or what should we be excited about that is coming up with Videosites in the next, say, 12 to 18 months?
Well, without sharing too much, again, as we've evolved our Media Track product and we're working in the areas of YouTube monetization for leagues and teams, and also the segmentation of our Media Track product, we're continuing to evolve not only our use cases for the various verticals of business, leagues, teams, brands, but we are excited about launching a new user-friendly dashboard that we think is going to be very engaging from some of the feedback we've gotten from our clients. And I think the combination of, everyone uses this phrase of building the plane while flying it, we are in that business as a startup, right? And so for us, while we are pivoting one way currently from the feedback we get, we know we'll get new feedback that'll continue to make us pivot to provide solutions for our clients. So we are just very excited to continue as we grow our relationships. And again, in the 12 months I've been here, teams and leagues that we brought on, we're going to continue to grow. And I think we're going to learn a lot from our clients on what they need and providing the solutions for the future for them. So it's going to be a very fun ride.
I've heard of changing the tire on the car while the car is running, but building the plane while it's flying is probably taking it to
Very,
the next. Is probably taking it to the next level. So yeah, interesting one.
it's an American phrase for sure. And it's a pretty popular one.
Fair enough. All right, brilliant. Amos, thanks again for all the context. Thanks for sharing with our listeners and viewers more about Videocites. If anybody wants to reach out to you, what's the best place to do that? Your email, LinkedIn?
Yeah, either one on my LinkedIn or my email, Amos, A-M-O-S, at Videocites, CITES.com. Please reach out.
Fantastic. We'll drop the details drop the links in the show notes. Before I let you go, Amos, my last question is my favorite one to ask. I like to believe we're all sports fans first. And especially working in the industry, I can imagine you've seen a special event or two. I want to know, what has been your favorite sporting moment?
Oh my God. I am so blessed and lucky, and like you said, 25 years in this business, being at almost everything, it's hard to pinpoint one. But if I had to, off the top of my head, I would tell you when I began in the industry, it was a couple of years in, it was 2003. And, I grew up in New York City, and I was at the Yankees Red Sox Game 7 in 2003 that Aaron Boone hit the home run. But what was so unique about that, I was in the upper deck. I think I was second from the last row. And when the ball was hit, all 50,000 people went silent. So it was eerie. And then when the ball landed as a home run, it was so loud, but it was silent again. So it was this dichotomy of 50,000 people being quiet, it was silent, then 50,000 people screaming at the top of their lungs being quiet, and the stadium, the old Yankee Stadium, shaking, which was a little unnerving. But I would say that kind of moment for someone from New York City and growing up as a Yankee fan was great. But I've just been blessed to see so many great athletes perform at their highest levels and see amazing moments, and it's been amazing.
Fantastic. Game 7 is something special, irrespective of the sport. I've never got to witness one in person. I hope to soon. Maybe I'll hit you up the next time I'm in New York if the calendars align. Amos, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining us.
Same here. Pleasure to meet you. Thank you so much for the time.
Right, that's a wrap for the first episode. Might be our second in the series of focusing on broadcasting innovation. I mentioned it a couple of times already. There is so much happening in the space. So it's great to talk to people who are innovating in broadcast and bringing live sports to us, the fans. Stay tuned. We'll have more next week. Ciao.
Thanks for listening to the SportsTech All-Stars podcast with Rohn Malhotra. If you like our show, let us know and leave a review. And if you want to know more about us, check out SportsTechX.com, where you can find our latest industry reports and updates. For a deeper dive into all things sports tech, check out our comprehensive database, SportsTechDB, at SportsTechDB.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media. You can find us at SportsTechX on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Join us next time for another insightful conversation with a leader in sports tech.